Good evening, everyone. Wow, we're still trying to assemble folks, but we want to get a pretty prompt start to our evening because we have a lot to cover. Thank you very much for coming out. My name is Lynetta McIver. I'm the Director of Multicultural Outreach and Engagement for AARP, Louisiana. And welcome to the screening of In My Father's House, starring Shay Ryan-Fest Smith, who we have in the audience with us this evening. Stand up, Shay. Following, we'll have a discussion that will be moderated by the impactful, incomparable Dr. Calvin Mackey. Dr. Mackey, please stand up. And before we get started, I want to thank a few people. I really want to thank our Vice President of African American Strategy and Development for AARP in our Washington office, who took his time out to join us this evening, Mr. Jim Taylor. And my reliable advisor and partner in crime, Mr. James Dotson. He's the advisor for African American Strategy. 1,000 thanks go to 100 black men who are spread out all throughout the audience. Could everyone from 100 black men please stand? Thank you all so much for all you do in the community. Particularly our local president, Mr. Jonathan Wilson, who's standing in the back, always pretending he's shy. This couldn't be done without the steam engine of, I would have to say, who pulled all of this together, who I call my super intern, Tony Harrigan. She's running around somewhere. Also, she's here. Also, Super Sid, our newest intern, she's around here somewhere too. And of course, who really drive the engine for us are our volunteers. Wherever you all are in the audience, please stand up so we can recognize you. Okay. We have a couple of housekeeping items. You have feedback cards in your chair that we ask that after you view the film and listen at the discussion, you complete the card. It's a couple of questions. Leave us your name and email because we're going to use this information to send you invitation to future events, future workshops that may be of interest to you. And once you leave with that, for all of those who return a card, they will receive a laptop case to take home with you. That's our gift to you for coming out this evening. Okay, did I forget anything before we get started?
Turn your phones off.
Yes, turn your phones off. Mr. Soundman, is it possible for us to show the brief commercial with the sound on it? Mr. George reminded me that the 100 black men have 100 black women here with them. So, who are their spouses that are joining us this evening? I hope you had a good time so far. I really appreciate you coming out. I'm not going to talk too much about the film. I don't want to give anything away. I want you to be pleasantly surprised. It's a great film, which is one of the reasons why we selected this film as a screening to support our efforts in this community as it relates to caregiving. We want to call attention to the black male caregiver who are our husbands, our brothers, our confidants, our friends, but black men has been victim of a myth that they don't care for their families, and they do. And you will see that depicted in the film. And I hope the message of it resonates with you all, and you get a lot out of the discussion tonight. So without further ado, we'll start our program. Thank you very much.
My mother boyfriend taught me how to womanize, how to run from the truth and tell women lies. Never had a father, and I blame my mama. She made bad choices and had horrible karma. Couldn't even find a decent man for me to honor. Got my degree from the streets, that was my alma mater. Call the hustlers my brothers and the hustlers my cousins. We had our own clique, we rolled for each other. They taught me how to pick rocks, how to ditch cops, and how to break the weight down in the small rocks. They told me if you got a pistol, you don't got a box. Just put his brains in the streets and make them all watch. But at 16, I started to add. I subtracted the pain and divided the bad. Multiplied my grind with a fraction I had. And all the multiple men never equaled a dad. If I told you I loved you, I was telling the truth. When I told them I hated you, I was telling the truth. So when I call you a coward, I'm just letting it loose. Don't look shocked, you being gone is proof. Yeah, it's easy to make them and it's hard to raise them. Why did daddy leave? Who created the mayhem? It don't even matter no more, I already forgave them. I got kids of my own and I currently raise them. My kids is amazing, my shorties is waiting to go to Chuck E. Cheese. Grandpa, take them. I found them for them, took the time to show them. They asked, what's his name? They just trying to know him. See, at 35, I started to add. I subtracted the pain, I divided the bad, multiplied my grind with a fraction I had, and all it takes is showing up, being a dad. Thank y'all very much for watching our film.
Well. Was that powerful? That was powerful. Give it up again. Brother Che, I think you've hit on something that's been simmering in our community, lost and found, but a lot of things that have not been said. This father son thing, what role do you think that's playing in a breakdown in our community that we're seeing? I just want to say thank you to AARP for having this.
Yes.
40% of all, give it up for AARP, 40% of all adult caretakers are males. The average age of a male caretaker is like 38, usually taking care of a female with an average age of 68. So this is a real issue. And more of us are finding ourselves in a position where we have to go back and take care of our mother, take care of our father, aunt, or uncle, or someone like that.
Thank you, Dr. Mackey, for having me. Thank you, New Orleans, for having me, and AARP, 100 Black Men. I appreciate you all giving us this platform to discuss this topic. You know, it's really how it's supposed to happen. Your parents are supposed to take care of you until you have to take care of your parents. And my particular, and we forget this, we send our, I believe we send our children out and we hope for the best. We hope they come back. But we never give them any instructions anymore on what their obligations and duties are to community and to family. And we have to begin taking leadership as parents, uncles, aunties, grandparents. I believe that I took on the role of, I thought it was the parent. So in the film, my father say, I'm the daddy.
I'm the daddy.
I'm the daddy.
In my house.
It's in my father's house. And so I realized now through Lynetta and that I was a caregiver. I thought I was the parent, but I was a caregiver. And so I believe that that's where we have to start going. We have to be the example. I was telling some of the young people at the STEM NOLA program today that they have to be the example of what they would like for parents to be if their parents are not who they wish they were. And through being that example, this is the first time, I'm 39 years old, man, that I see my mama and daddy coming to the door together with the grandkids smiling and laughing. And through that, I'm like, I know who I am. There are a lot of men, as you know, with wives and children that don't even know who they are. How can you lead a family like that? And so these men, we become tyrants. We become dictators of a home because we think that's leadership. I had to figure out my father didn't survive because he was a dictator. He survived because he was funny, because he was compassionate and sensitive. And I knew when I met my father, I knew it was okay for me to be funny, compassionate, and sensitive.
I got you. And you touched on abandonment, and Bell Hooks in her book, Rock My Soul, Black People and Self-Esteem, she said abandonment is one of the most critical issues in the black community right now. There are a lot of our kids that's abandoned with a father at home. And we have to speak to that. I want to know this. Can we ask a bird not to fly?
Or a fish not to swim.
Not to swim?
No.
The question is, they said people usually change because of one or more of three reasons. They usually change because they learn enough, or they change because they're given enough, or they change because they hurt enough. And I believe we saw your daddy in you struggling with all three of those. And there's a lot of change that's needed in all of our lives. Speak to that struggle that all of us are dealing with.
Man, you know what I really want to speak to? You and I met earlier today. There was a time when I would be intimidated by a man like you. I would feel insecure around a man like you, and I say, that nigga over there, he ain't. But you know why I know who I am now, so I know that we brothers.
It is.
And I know that we can build more than we can, you
There
know
it
what I'm
is.
saying? And when I look at you, but you knew who your daddy was.
There it is.
I can tell.
There it is.
You walk like it. You hold your head like it. Your eyes glow. You got a shine to you, like you know something about yourself.
There it is.
Even if, so when we go back to this, you can be abandoned with the father in the house, but you still know who he is. I often ask myself, would I rather have no daddy or a daddy who was abusive? I'd always rather know who I am, so I at least know what to avoid with myself. Well, I love you, Dr. Mackey, because I look at you and say, the things we could build. But if I didn't know who I was, that's why I was falling out with Kanye. Because he knew who he was, he just didn't know where he was going or how to get back home. We still working on that. Now, but Chance the Rapper's father worked in the Obama administration and now works for Rahm Emanuel and helped Chance the Rapper to get a record deal with Rahm Emanuel's brother, Ari Emanuel. There were networks that were taking place through the father. Common's father was a famous basketball player. His mother was a vice principal with CPS. She sits on the school board. Although your daddy was working and may been neglectful, you are correcting that with your son, and I saw it. We were meeting, and how old is your son?
12.
His 12-year-old son followed us everywhere we were going. The only time I ever saw that was with Ernie Duncan, the Secretary of Education who worked for Obama, when every time we had a meeting, that white man brought his son. And I said, well, we talking about some critical things. He said, oh, my son sat on more critical meetings than this with the president. All I'm saying, brother, is the only way that we can connect as brothers and as a village is if we have elders that teach us about our ancestors. I'm gonna tell you how we wrote Glory. When me and Common decided to write Glory, we said, let's pray to the ancestors to tell us their story. Let's not try to write nothing. Let's let them tell us the rest of their story. Man, your story is connected through your mother and your father and your grandparents and their grandparents. We got to know who we are. But I'm telling you, I'm not intimidated. I love you. But that love, bro, that love come from, I had to fix myself to understand who you were as a leader and follow you.
And how big a struggle is that in our community? Because even when your daddy went back, it's hard to go back. There have been times, I'm born and raised in New Orleans, now I've come back, and I thought I had become what the community said they wanted me to become, and your dad had become. He asked the lady, isn't that a good thing you haven't seen me? And what a dude told me, you think you this. And that runs deep.
But they were helping him. And they didn't know how to articulate it, but they knew he didn't belong there no more. And sometimes the community will kick your butt out of the community because when you ain't doing the right thing. You'll go back to something that you have already passed that level. And the people know you passed that level. And all they'll do at that point is destroy you because you never learned that you were bigger than that. They saw my father change, and they saw him come back to something. They wish they had a son like me.
No doubt.
Wayne wished that I was his son. And when he saw my father come back, all he could do was hang his head low and say, "Nah, man." They helped him.
So we here, in the 100 Black Men is here, one of the leading national mentoring organizations in the country, and we are talking about mentoring boys to men. And you said something earlier about in the community there must be elders. And we talked earlier about how more men need to become elders. And how we got to have 3 tiers, boys, men,
Yes.
and elders.
No, you talked about that, and I agreed with you.
Okay, then when you talk about it now, when you talk about it now.
Well, I really...
you just spoke to it.
Yeah, but the solution to Black America's problem actually exists in New Orleans.
Explain it.
I've never seen so many men and strong men and educated men. I came here, I look at local TV, and I saw this man from this thing called the Silverback Society, and he was talking about, he was talking about teaching. Yeah, brother, he was talking about etiquette classes. I said, we need that. He was talking about, you're gonna date a man's daughter, you may go to his house, and if you don't know, if he takes you out and you don't know fine dining and how to eat, he may tell his daughter not that one. I said, we need that. When I look at the Zulus, when I look at 100 Black Men, y'all got so many, when I look at STEM NOLA, y'all got so many organizations and everybody know each other and everybody's family. And then I went to these businesses. I'm sorry, brother, what's the name of the restaurant? Pauline's Connection. And he showed me 3 generations, father, son, grandfather, 2 Black women that created, not pralines, plarines. And it was the same plarine, they make it the same way they made it from the 1800s, 2 sisters. I'm like, this is what Black America needs. But the issue with New Orleans is you all are now still rebuilding, but you rebuilding bigger and stronger, and you putting all the right pieces together. The only thing I would like to see here, I want the government to get this school thing right, because this school thing ain't right. You know what I'm saying? This education thing ain't right. But
Ernie Duncan was part and parcel of that now, but keep going.
And don't politically don't let somebody with a black face but an Anglo-Saxon attitude, you know what I'm saying? Don't be fooled by black faces. But y'all learned y'all lesson with Ray Nagin. I see that.
Hey.
But I would say I've been studying this place. And this place actually has the answer to Black America's problems. Do you know, I've been here for about 3 days, and today I finally caught on that I can say hello. And I figured out they know I ain't from here because I don't speak. And so today I just start speaking to everybody. And when I start speaking, something in my soul start rumbling. And I start feeling like a village again. And I said, man, if we had this in Chicago, we wouldn't have no more violence. I think y'all got real men here. And these men need to really get around the country. And we need to bring these men to Chicago and other places to teach how to speak and how to love.
We have 3 Black male medical editors on the news. That's nowhere else in the nation. Dr. Griggs, Dr. Corey Bears, and Dr. Stevens. And people, we take a lot of things for granted here. What you all have in Chicago.
Y'all got assets.
We got access to things, but you all have had strong leadership.
Yes.
We got a lot of people doing things, and we have not been able to harness the leadership to give people the platform to build across the city. So you told your daddy this. You said you gotta be better than who you were.
Yes.
You told him that to his face. You jumped in the car. You gotta be better. Is it fair now for us to tell each other that we gotta be better when we know we can be better? If we're gonna build a better community?
We as Black men have to begin to be comfortable with holding each other accountable and still loving each other afterwards. And I think One of the definitions of character in manhood is being able to receive when somebody holds you accountable and still love them afterwards. Once we can hold each other accountable, we're going to be okay. And love.
And that comes
in love.
In love.
Yes, yes.
And it starts there.
Yes, it does.
You know, it's funny, you know, when I first started watching your documentary Sunday, this speaks to my life, but when you start talking about, people ask me where the money is. And we've seen this played out over and over again with entertainers and athletes. If you can tell people here today something about financial management and when should it start and how should it be, if you can go back, what should we be doing with our children right now in terms of financial management? Or ourselves?
No. Yeah. We got to start with ourselves. Because it's hard to tell your child something about financial management when you and mama arguing about how to pay this electric bill.
While driving a BMW.
And eating out every night. But what I would say about financial management is, a child, just like an adult, we've lost the understanding of what is valuable and what is not valuable. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about that BMW, how much value does that car leave when you drive it off the lot? So you just bought a $50,000 car that as soon as you drove it off the lot, it's worth $15,000? I believe that we have to stop wanting what white people got and what white people gave black people that don't care about community. And they stunt in front of us. What's the first thing a rapper say when he get on the video? I hate a broke nigga. You a broke nigga. How could you say that to me?
But he makes a video
and make it look good.
That make it look good. And we have Asian institutions that give them platforms to bring that same message on a daily basis.
I would say rotting institutions. So I don't believe, I'm from Chicago, our congressman is Bobby Rush. He about 80 years old, he got dementia, don't even know where he is. I'm not saying that the age is the issue. I'm saying the issue is you don't hold on to an office until you die. We don't replace ourselves. We have to pour love into people up under us. I'm 39. There's somebody that's 25 years old that need me to pour my knowledge, wisdom, and love and ancestry into them so they can pour it into a 16-year-old, so they can pour it into an 8-year-old. But we didn't learn how to graduate into being elders.
There it is.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Bobby Rush, Danny Davis, John Conyers. What's my man name in Atlanta, Georgia?
John Lewis.
John Lewis. John Lewis is an icon. John Lewis needs to be curating museums for young people and teaching people civic engagement through community colleges, how to run for alderman and city council and state rep and congressman. He needs to, so when John Lewis died, our people die with the knowledge and the information. And then you wonder why these kids is all messed up. It didn't come out of a vacuum. They didn't make it up on their own. We didn't teach them nothing before we died, and we held on to it and died with it in our hands. I love the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He is a friend of mine and a brother. I'm going to tell you a conversation I had with the Reverend. I said, Reverend, why you don't pass the torch? He said, well, Rhymefest, it ain't no damn torch to be passed. If you want power, you gotta take it. Don't clap for that.
That's right.
Because the next question I asked him is, well, when Dr. King gave you Operation Breadbasket, did you take it or did he pass you a torch? All I'm saying is this. My brother, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, is still trying to raise money for Operation Push when he could be in a seminary school and someone else could be running Operation Push who knows how to use an app, who likes rap, who can raise money because they know what's going on and they're on social media to do that. He don't understand why it's a failing institution. It's because he didn't pass it yet. All I'm saying is, if we don't learn how to replace ourselves, you're gonna keep wondering why it's violence in the street, and it ain't because a white man didn't give you no health care. It's because we didn't give ourselves self-care.
People, I was taught there was 3 things a man's supposed to give his children. One is life. You give them life through mating with a woman. After you give them life, next thing you do is you give them leadership, and you lead them. And the last thing you give them is legacy. Donald Trump walked into the White House, and who walked in there with him? All his children. We don't know where they went to school, if they had to have a job, if they ever passed the SAT, the ACT, can they spell T? We don't know. But they are in the, and they didn't have to take nothing. There it is.
But that goes into family. When we talk about our family, and who did Donald Trump's
legacy?
Who did Donald Trump's daughter marry? Somebody just like her daddy, and he made sure of that. All I'm saying is the way we procreate is funny. I was on I don't know if I told you, I was on this boat. Kenneth Cole is one of my friends, the shoe designer. I'm on a boat with him, and we fishing, and he said, "You see that island? That island right there, that's John Kerry's island." I said, "How Kerry got an island?" "Oh, his wife is Hines, Teresa Hines from the Hines." He said, "You see that other island? That's McCain." I said, "How he get an island?" "Oh, he's married to the Budweiser lady." Then Kenneth Cole is married to Maria Cuomo Cole, whose father was the governor of New York. And I said, "I met my baby mama in Shark's Chicken Shack." Now, I wonder we ain't got no money up in here. We got to start some generational wealth.
So we got to raise. We're gonna go to the audience. We're gonna go to the audience for question and answer. But I want you to speak on one thing, because we're talking about men as caregivers, and you did a yeoman's job of caring for your father, and that was clear from the documentary. But I don't want people to miss another caregiving opportunity that you took advantage of and responsibility for in that film, and that was caring for Donnie.
Oh, my wife is the engine of our family. I call her corporate. Stand up, Donnie. Please give her a hand. Please give my wife a hand. And look, I'm going to tell y'all, I was watching the movie, and I got to walk out every time I see her cry in the kitchen and say, "It's going to burn." I say, "Oh, it's going to burn." And I run out the theater crying. I'm so sorry that I did that to you. I love you so much. I apologize again and again and again.
We got to care for our children. Yeah. We got to care for our spouses, and we got to care for our elders. Thank you, brother. And guess what?
Thank you.
I love you too.
Oh, well, come here, brother.
Man, this brother all day long. I said, "Man, look, we got to go on vacation together or something." Been talking this much. We're going to open the floor for questions. Lynetta, do you have a mic, or want to use one of these? Raise your hand.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Rachel Graham. I work with WBOK 1230 AM, Black-owned radio station here in the city of New Orleans. And I happen to produce a show called What's Your Revolution with Dr. Charles Corporal. And the focus of that show is talking about helping men become the healthiest versions of themselves. Talk about a little bit how this journey with your father helped not only heal him, but heal you, and what that was like.
What people don't understand is that before I met my wife, I was homeless myself. I didn't have a place to stay. I moved in with Donnie, and Donnie provided me a place to stay, and Donnie helped heal me, and she asked me, "Where all your money at? Where your Grammy at? Where all this stuff you supposed to have?" And she took down the name of my lawyer, and you know she liked to make lists. She took my lawyer's name down, Kanye number, the accountant's number, and she started making calls for me to help me get my business back in order. Donnie taught me how to heal my father. Donnie taught me how to forgive. Donnie taught me, like Music Soul Child, she taught me how to love. And through that, I felt as though it was obligatory for me to pass love. And who you gonna pass it to if you're not gonna pass it throughout your family? Now, part of why we went through this journey with my father is because I hope one day my children can forgive me. And how can my children forgive me if I can't forgive him? And that's why we filmed it, so my children could see it and say, my daddy can forgive maybe what, I was feeling wasn't. And we don't always know the story of our parents. We think we know how we feel. We think we know what daddy said about mama or what mama said about daddy, but that was in 1970, whatever. You don't know what happened. And so we have to have individual, independent relationships with our parents as who we are, not as who we were taught to have that relationship. And so I guess to answer your question, I was healed by allowing the village around me. Look at how supportive my mama was. My mama, look at all them women around me. My mama could have been like, why is you doing this? She said, well, if you think he alive, well, go find him. My mama gave me the best gift a mother could ever give a son by taking my daddy back that she didn't want in her house. She didn't want to live with no homeless man because she has to teach him how to reacclimate to living like that. So my mama said, I see you traveling, you touring, son, give me your daddy. I had the baby with him, I guess I deserve him. And so when you talk about heal me, heal myself, it wasn't just me or my father, it was a whole family spiritual healing that went on there. And I think that, but it comes from leadership. It takes one person to step out and just try it. Step out and try to forgive, and I guarantee you, the thing that separates humans from animals is that we can create realities that don't already exist. And I think the older we get, the more we forget that we can create realities that don't exist. The older you get, you think the world is just how it is. But what do we love about the youth? That they think they can change things. And they do change things. All I'm saying is as long as you're alive, you can create something that ain't there. All I did was recreate a family.
There it is. Question?
First and foremost, man, I really enjoyed that documentary.
Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Alaikum salam. You just did something that was so significant when you first started. You told Dr. Mackey that you were not threatened by him, and at one point you would have until you heal your relationship with your father. Can you talk about how the absence of the father may be playing a factor in the violence that we see here in the city of New Orleans and also even in the streets of Chicago?
I'll make it even clearer than that. Let's use something in mainstream media. When I saw Meek Mill Twitter Drake and start that beef, I said, ooh, he ain't got no daddy.
There it is.
Because a daddy would have told you, boy, that's weak. A father tells you through his own experience, because the older you get, the more of a psychic you become. You see the future because you live the past.
2020.
And so you can tell her, and sometimes with mamas, they like, I don't know, he a boy, and I don't know if he and what he gonna do, and he might not. And then the son become your boyfriend by proxy. And you can't really tell your boyfriend what to do. A boy needs a father to tell it to. When we talked about holding people accountable,
That's right.
Not to be a tyrant, but to hold you accountable and to fall out with you. Me and my son recently fell out. My son about to go to college. I told him I ain't going to his graduation, high school graduation. Why? He gonna come in here and bring me a graduation ticket at 12 midnight and expect me to go at 3 o'clock the next day. Sure enough, he came at 12 midnight. And then we had a conversation. I'm gonna tell you an intimate conversation. I said, my son, he plays football, he wrestles, he's all-star, he got a great personality. And I said, son, why are you talking to these college recruiters by yourself? Why won't you let me help you? I'm your daddy, give me your weight. You ain't gotta put all this weight on you. He said, our relationship ain't like that, and I'll call you when I need you. Boy, you telling me you gonna use me when you want to. So I said, okay, how about this? I'm gonna show you what it feel like to not have no daddy. Don't call me at all. when my son, and I was telling my wife, oh, he hurt me, and oh, I ain't messing with him. Let him do it. When he failed, I'm gonna pick up the broken pieces. That's how I was mad at that boy. Do you know when he came at 12 midnight to bring them graduation tickets, I was so happy.
Thank you, Jesus.
I was there, I had my suit on. Look, he graduated, that's my son. And then my son came over the next night, and you be waiting what you gonna do after high school? He said, I got into this college in Montana. They gave me a full scholarship. I say, boy, you must have learned something from me at some point. So I was so proud of him, even though he cut me deep. That's the relationship between a boy and a man. It teaches you how to deal with the world. The world gonna cut you, and you gotta love past it.
And that is the conflict between a boy and his daddy.
Woo.
That otherwise prepare him for the world that's gonna cut.
And as good as your boy is, one day he gonna cut you.
Oh, he's gonna cut me. There's no doubt about it. And I keep telling him that. So I'm ready.
But just get your armor ready. I remember one time, my grandfather was a very influential character in my life. You know, a lot of my character comes from my grandfather on my mother's side. And his kids were just so messed up, my uncles and aunts. And one day, I was 12. He said, grandson, come in here. Let me tell you something. I said, yeah? He said, man, when it comes to family, you need to have a rotating shield around your heart so when they hurt you, it just pink, pink, pink,
Pink,
and then
pink.
it can open up when it need to. And that's what I think I'm going to do. And he said, now get out of here.
I always tell this story.
But he planted a time bomb. He planted a
He knew it was
seed
coming.
that grew and sprouted at 35.
No, it was coming. I tell us. In closing, I think all of this come down to the struggle of the two existential questions of who am I and why am I here? And a boy needs a man to help him get there. I would say all of our children need a man to help them get there. Yes. And thank you for sharing, being transparent, and opening your life and your family to the world in the hope that it'll help all of us become better and become a better community and a better family. Thank you, brother.
And thank you to all the moms.
Don't forget to complete your feedback cards, and there will be individuals at the door to collect them on the way out. You're welcome to keep the ink pen. It's our gift to you. Thank you so much for coming out this evening.